look, you come to Alabama for certain reasons, and you want to be at a place where football is important. You want to be at a place where that pressure's there. Like me personally, that's never anything that I've shied away from. You know, I know there's noise out there, but you try not to get in the weeds of that, and you put your head down and you work. And I think certain people can handle it and certain people can't. You know, at a young age playing the position, you face adversity, and I think that's prepared me for my career, which I'm fortunate for. You know, I threw a lot of interceptions, so there was a lot of criticism that came with that. Those challenges, you know, that's what you want. You know, that's what you come to a place like this. That's why you're in the SEC. Like, for me personally, that was a challenge that I was welcoming to. And, you know, I'm proud of the group, proud of what we've been able to accomplish. But, you know, those challenges personally, you know, you just put your head down and work. That's really all there is. You know, there's no other way to get through hard times than put in the effort and the time to find a way through it.
Something has shifted inside the Browns building, and it's not just off-season noise. This feels like the kind of tension that shows up right before an owner makes a cold, franchise-level decision. Jimmy Haslam has seen too many wait-till-next-year speeches in Cleveland, and he's not trying to sit through another one. Here's the real issue. When you believe you've got a quarterback who can change your whole direction, you don't let that timeline get wasted by confusion, mixed messages, or an offense that can't decide what it wants to be. And lately, the Browns' offensive identity has felt like it's stuck in between eras. One drive looks aggressive, the next looks like it's playing not to lose, and that inconsistency is exactly what makes owners start staring at the coaching chart. That's why the heat is landing on Tommy Rees. Not because he's some villain, and not because he doesn't work hard, but because the NFL is ruthless about one thing. Does your system elevate the quarterback, or does the quarterback have to drag the system forward? When the answer isn't clear, the trust starts slipping, especially from the top. And hovering over every conversation is Shedeur Sanders. He's the kind of talent that changes the whole conversation in the locker room. Players can feel it when a quarterback has command, when he's steady under pressure, when he's got that "I'm not scared of the moment" look in his eyes. That's why the Browns can't afford a setup that slows him down or keeps him boxed in. Development isn't just reps, it's direction. People around the league will tell you the same thing. Young quarterbacks don't just need good play calls. They need a coach who can teach the why, simplify the chaos, and build an offense around what the quarterback does best.
So it goes on to say Browns head coach search. Team eliminates Tommy Rees as a candidate. Now, we know that there has been friction allegedly with none other than Kevin Stefanski with the locker room. Basically, people were saying the reason Kevin Stefanski's gone because he lost control of the locker room. People ain't feeling him. Now, it's no secret that Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees was very, very close, bruh. Now, we seen a lot of iffy things going on, man, with Tommy Rees regarding Shedeur, too, dog. Like, he seemed like he was on the Kevin Stefanski hype line, bruh, when it comes to this whole Shedeur not receiving first team reps, when it comes to Shedeur and the whole Dylan Gabriel battle. I believe Tommy Rees kind of played a factor in Shedeur not getting those first team reps. Now, I could be wrong. This is just my personal opinion about the whole matter. The article goes on to say Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry continues the head coach search with Jim Schwartz interviewing again. Now, Tommy Rees is out.
If Shedeur's strengths are timing, anticipation, and calm decision-making, then the offense has to match that energy. If the offense is late on adjustments, sloppy on sequencing, or predictable on tendencies, defenses will feast, and the quarterback takes the blame even when it isn't fair. That's where Jimmy Haslam's frustration reportedly comes from. He's not watching as a fan anymore. He's watching as an investor protecting the most valuable asset in the building. When ownership starts hearing the same concerns from multiple angles, film review, internal evaluations, and outside chatter, it stops being noise and starts being a warning light. And nobody wants to be the owner who ignored the warning and paid for it with another lost era. So the whisper that Haslam wants to move on from Rees has been growing for a reason. It's not about drama for drama's sake. It's about urgency. Cleveland has lived in quarterback limbo for decades. And when you finally land a guy who can lead, you don't play games with the support system around him. If Haslam believes Shedeur needs a stronger teacher, a clearer offensive voice, and a coach who can build a modern plan week to week, then he's going to push for that change hard. And make no mistake, this is how it starts. Not with a press conference, not with a viral quote, but with ownership asking sharper questions. What's the plan for Shedeur's growth by mid-season? How are we handling protections? What's the identity on third down? Where are the answers when defenses take away the first read? Those questions sound simple, but they expose everything. Because in the NFL, the truth is brutal. You can survive a lot of things, but you can't survive wasting your quarterback. If Jimmy Haslam truly believes Shedeur Sanders is the future, then he's going to demand coaching that treats him like the future, not like a project that can wait. And if Tommy Rees can't prove he's the right guy to guide that future, the owner's patience is going to run out fast. The situation around Tommy Rees didn't explode overnight. This has been building quietly, layer by layer, until the doubts became impossible to ignore. Inside the Browns organization, concern doesn't come from one bad game or one bad stretch. It comes when patterns start repeating. And that's exactly what's happening now. Rees was brought in with the expectation that he would bring structure, clarity, and quarterback-friendly concepts. The belief was that his system would help streamline reads, control tempo, and give the offense an identity it could lean on under pressure. But what ownership has seen instead feels uneven. One week, the offense looks like it wants to push the ball. The next week, it pulls back and plays cautious.
I said this when I came on a couple weeks ago. You got to get really aggressive in this situation and find out what the quarterback can and can't do. This isn't about winning games. This is about information gathering. Like, when the last time they threw a ball deep over the middle of the field, like within the confines of the call play? Like, even that first drive, we all went right down the field. That was all play action in the flat, bubble screen here, hitch route here. Like, and Kevin, come on, dog. You ain't got nothing to lose. Go in that room and yell YOLO. Say, we about to see what it do this week. Isaiah, IB, come here, baby. Man, we finna route these guys up, man. Have y'all thrown 8 comeback in the last 4 weeks? Like, any outcuts on the out? Like, it is. I'm watching a JV football game. Like, what is going on?
That kind of swing might survive in college, but in the NFL, it creates hesitation. And hesitation is poison for a developing quarterback. This is where the trust issue starts. Jimmy Haslam isn't breaking down every play like a coach, but he understands rhythm. He understands flow. And more importantly, he understands when an offense looks confident versus when it looks like it's guessing. Too often, Cleveland's offense has looked like it's reacting instead of dictating. That falls back on coaching. The concern isn't that Tommy Rees doesn't know football. It's that his message isn't consistently translating from the meeting room to the field. When players hesitate pre-snap, when adjustments look late, and when protection calls don't match defensive looks, it tells ownership something isn't clicking fast enough. For a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, that matters more than anything. Shedeur plays his best football when decisions are decisive, when reads are clean, when the offense moves with confidence. But when the system around him feels uncertain, the quarterback is forced into survival mode instead of growth mode. That's the red flag. Coaches are supposed to shrink the game for their quarterback. They're supposed to eliminate noise, not add to it. When the quarterback has to overcompensate for scheme confusion, development slows, and mistakes start showing up on the stat sheet even if they weren't fully his fault. Ownership notices that dynamic immediately. Another issue that's quietly frustrated people inside the building is adaptability. NFL defenses adjust fast. They take away tendencies, jump routes, and disguise pressure. When the offense doesn't counter quickly, it sends a message that the staff is a step behind. That's not something Haslam tolerates. He's watched too many Browns teams fall apart because adjustments came too late or not at all. And when he sees similar warning signs now, he doesn't brush them off as growing pains.
Have you seen, just even in Monday or as you're getting ready and going through the walkthroughs, have you seen like anything different? You're like, oh, this feels a little bit different with Tommy calling the plays.
Coach Tommy definitely has his own swagger and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
It's the same routine and stuff, but definitely you can Coach Tommy, he's going to put us in a good position to be successful.
The NFL doesn't reward patience when the quarterback timeline is ticking. There's also the matter of authority. Players respond to coaches who command the room, not just through volume, but through decisiveness. When a coach hesitates, the locker room feels it. When play calling looks uncertain, confidence erodes. That's part of what's hurting Rees right now. This isn't a smear campaign. It's an evaluation. And in Cleveland, evaluations come with consequences. Jimmy Haslam understands something very clearly. If the quarterback succeeds, the franchise succeeds. If the quarterback stalls, everything else collapses. That's why coaching decisions around young quarterbacks are unforgiving. Rees hasn't lost the locker room, but he hasn't fully seized it either. And in the NFL, That gray area is dangerous. Ownership wants to see an offense that knows exactly who it is, one that builds weekly, one that protects its quarterback while still letting him lead. Right now, Haslam isn't convinced that vision is being executed cleanly enough. That's why the pressure keeps rising. What's making this situation uncomfortable inside the Browns building is not just the coaching concerns. It's the realization that Shedeur Sanders may already be ahead of the developmental curve. That changes everything. When the quarterback starts moving faster than the system around him, tension is unavoidable. Shedeur doesn't look overwhelmed by NFL speed. He doesn't look rushed by pressure. He doesn't play like someone trying to survive snap to snap. Instead, he plays with calm, with command, and with a level of composure that usually takes years to develop. That's not normal for a young quarterback. From the moment he steps into the huddle, players respond. You can see it in the way receivers finish routes, in how linemen communicate protections, and in how the offense regroups after a negative play. That presence matters, and it's one of the hardest things to teach at this level. This is where the disconnect starts to show. When a quarterback displays that level of readiness, the coaching staff has two options. Either expand the offense to meet him where he is, or slow him down to fit a preset structure. And right now, the Browns' offense feels like it's choosing caution over evolution. That's frustrating for ownership. Shedeur's strengths are obvious on film. He processes quickly. He anticipates windows before they fully open. He's comfortable throwing with timing and trust instead of waiting for receivers to break wide open. Those are traits you build around, not suppress. But too often the offense feels like it's protecting against mistakes instead of leaning into opportunity. When first reads are taken away, the answers don't always come fast enough. When defenses adjust, the counters don't always show up.
Yeah, man, it's just going to be very interesting to see how this all play out in the next coming months, man, with Kevin Stefanski, Tommy Rees. Now, we do know Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam shifted focus to the roster. Reports is starting to come out of Cleveland that they are pursuing other offensive linemen. They could be pursuing a wide receiver from this year's draft. Now, we do know the Browns do have, I believe, 2 first-round draft picks coming up on the 2026 draft. Now, it's unclear if they're going to trade those draft picks, if they're going to just do something different. But make no excuses about it, bruh. They is definitely in the market to fix this offense for the 2026 season, and I'm excited to see it. I just got to be honest with you guys. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully they get some good playmakers on the offensive side of the ball.
That puts more pressure on the quarterback than necessary. Jimmy Haslam sees that dynamic clearly. He understands that confidence is fragile at this position. You don't want a young quarterback second-guessing himself because the system doesn't fully trust him. That's how instincts get dulled. The NFL is filled with cautionary tales. Quarterbacks who flashed early, then plateaued because the offense never grew with them. Ownership is terrified of repeating that cycle. Shedeur isn't asking to freelance or ignore structure. He's asking, and through his play, for responsibility. He's showing he can handle complexity, pre-snap adjustments, and pressure looks without panicking. When that's the case, the offense has to open up. Another concern quietly bubbling up is leadership development. Quarterbacks don't just lead on Sundays. They lead in meetings, during installs, and in how the team prepares weekly. When the offense feels rigid, leadership becomes constrained. Shedeur should be learning how to command an entire unit, not just execute assignments. That's where a stronger coaching presence matters. The Browns don't need a play caller who just knows schemes. They need a teacher who understands quarterback psychology. Someone who knows when to challenge, when to simplify, and when to step back and let the quarterback take ownership. Right now, Haslam isn't convinced that balance is being struck. This isn't about putting everything on Tommy Rees' shoulders. But when the quarterback looks ready for more and the system doesn't respond, responsibility naturally shifts upward. And here's the key point ownership keeps circling back to. You don't get bonus points in this league for playing it safe with a special quarterback. You get rewarded for building something that maximizes him. If Shedeur is already thinking 2 steps ahead, the offense can't afford to think 1 step behind. That realization is accelerating everything in Cleveland. This is the part of the conversation that makes everyone inside the Browns organization uncomfortable. Not the wins or losses, not the headlines or the noise. The real fear is history repeating itself. Again, Cleveland knows this story too well. A promising quarterback shows flashes. Hope builds, expectations rise, and then instability creeps in. Coaching changes. Scheme shifts. Mixed messages. Confidence erodes. And before anyone realizes it, another timeline is gone. That's the nightmare Jimmy Haslam is trying to avoid. The Browns have spent decades cycling through quarterbacks, and very few of them failed because of talent alone. Most failed because the environment around them never stabilized long enough for growth to take root. Different coordinators, different systems, different voices pulling in different directions. That chaos breaks quarterbacks. Ownership understands that better than anyone now, and that's why the Shedeur-Sanders situation feels so delicate. Because this time, the talent is obvious. The poise is obvious. The leadership is obvious. What's not obvious is whether the structure around him is strong enough to protect that trajectory. That's where anxiety starts to creep in. A young quarterback doesn't need perfection. He needs consistency. He needs clear teaching. He needs a plan that builds week to week instead of resetting every Sunday. When those things aren't firmly in place, development becomes fragile. And fragility is dangerous at this position. Jimmy Haslam has watched promising situations fall apart before because leadership waited too long to act. They hoped chemistry would magically improve. They trusted that patience alone would fix structural problems. It rarely does. That's why this moment feels different. The concern isn't that Shedeur is struggling. The concern is that he's succeeding in spite of instability. That's a massive warning sign. When a quarterback looks calm, while the offense around him looks unsettled, ownership has to ask a hard question. Is the quarterback carrying the system, or is the system carrying the quarterback? If it's the former, the clock starts ticking immediately. The NFL doesn't allow long grace periods for alignment issues. Defensive coordinators catch on fast. They study tendencies. They exploit predictability. If the offense doesn't evolve, the quarterback takes hits, physically and mentally. And Cleveland has seen what happens when confidence takes a hit. Once doubt creeps in, it's hard to erase. Footwork tightens. Eyes drop. Decision-making slows. It doesn't happen overnight, but when it starts, it spreads. Haslam refuses to let that happen again. That's why conversations inside the building have shifted from "is this working?" to "is this sustainable?" That's a completely different question. Something can work temporarily and still be wrong long-term. The Browns don't want Shedeur learning how to survive dysfunction. They want him learning how to command excellence. That distinction matters. Another layer to this fear is public pressure. Fans are paying attention. Media narratives form fast. If struggles appear, the quarterback always gets blamed first, even when the problems start elsewhere. Ownership knows that too. Protecting the quarterback isn't just about coaching. It's about optics, confidence, messaging, stability. When an organization sends mixed signals, the quarterback absorbs the fallout. Haslam doesn't want Shedeur answering questions about system confusion or coaching uncertainty. He wants him talking football, progress, and leadership. That requires decisive action when necessary. This isn't about panic. It's about prevention. The Browns finally have a quarterback people believe in. Letting history repeat itself would be unforgivable. At this stage, the pressure inside the Browns organization isn't just on the coaching staff. It's on ownership itself. Jimmy Haslam knows that every delay, every half measure, and every "let's wait and see" decision comes with consequences. When an owner believes he has a quarterback who can define the next decade, standing still becomes the most dangerous option. This is where timelines start to matter. Quarterback development windows are fragile. Miss the early acceleration phase, and you spend years trying to recover momentum. Haslam understands that wasting even a portion of that window could permanently alter Shedeur-Sanders' trajectory. That's why the evaluation process has intensified. Ownership isn't just asking if the offense functions. They're asking if it grows. Does it adapt when defenses adjust? Does it empower the quarterback to take more responsibility as the season progresses? Or does it remain rigid, forcing Shedeur to operate inside guardrails that no longer fit his skill set? Those questions don't come from impatience. They come from experience. Haslam has watched other franchises ruin promising situations by clinging to the wrong structure for too long. The league moves fast. Teams that hesitate get past. This is also where the external pressure builds. Fans see the flashes. They see Shedeur's calm. They see the leadership. And they start asking why the offense doesn't fully reflect that confidence. Once that question reaches the public, ownership feels it immediately. And let's be clear, this isn't about pleasing fans. It's about credibility. When fans lose trust in the direction of the team, everything becomes louder. Every mistake gets magnified. Every stalled drive turns into a referendum on leadership. Haslam knows that environment is brutal for a young quarterback. The longer uncertainty lingers, the harder it becomes to control the narrative. And narratives matter in the NFL. They shape locker rooms. They influence media coverage. They impact player confidence. That's why Haslam is leaning toward action rather than hope. Another key factor is accountability. Ownership believes that when expectations are clear, accountability must follow. If the offense isn't progressing at the pace expected, someone has to answer for it. That doesn't mean panic. It means leadership. Haslam doesn't want to look back a year from now and realize the signs were there but ignored. He's seen that movie too many times. The Browns finally have a chance to stabilize the most important position in sports. Protecting that opportunity is now the priority. Every meeting, every evaluation, and every internal discussion circles back to one truth. If Shedeur Sanders is the future, then everything else must align with his growth. And if alignment can't be achieved under the current structure, ownership believes change becomes inevitable. The pressure is peaking not because things are falling apart, but because the stakes are finally high. That's the difference. This isn't desperation. It's expectation. Jimmy Haslam knows the cost of getting this wrong is another lost era, and he's not willing to accept that outcome again. This is the moment where everything comes into focus for the Cleveland Browns. Not next season, not 2 years from now, right now. Jimmy Haslam understands that moments like this define franchises, and how ownership responds determines whether hope turns into history or heartbreak. For years, Cleveland lived in reaction mode. One problem led to another. One reset followed the next. Quarterbacks came and went, and every time the excuse sounded familiar. Wrong fit, wrong timing, wrong support. Haslam knows those excuses don't fly anymore. Because this time, the quarterback is different. Shedeur Sanders doesn't look like someone waiting to be molded. He looks like someone ready to lead. He plays with confidence, control, and an understanding of the moment that can't be faked. That's why this decision carries so much weight. This isn't about loyalty to a coach. It's about loyalty to the future. Owners don't get many chances to protect a quarterback before damage is done. Once confidence cracks, once doubt settles in, fixing it becomes nearly impossible. Haslam refuses to let that happen. The question he's asking himself isn't emotional, it's practical. Does the current coaching structure maximize Shedeur Sanders, or does it limit him? That's it. That's the entire equation. And when owners reach that point, the outcome usually becomes clear. The NFL doesn't reward patience when it comes at the expense of development. It rewards alignment, vision, decisiveness. Jimmy Haslam wants an offense that grows with its quarterback, one that adapts weekly, one that challenges him without overwhelming him, one that lets him take ownership of the team instead of feeling like he has to work around uncertainty. That's what elite organizations do. If Tommy Rees can prove he's that guy, he'll have the chance. But if doubt remains, Haslam won't hesitate. Because waiting too long is how windows close silently. Cleveland doesn't need drama. It needs direction. The locker room can feel this moment too. Players know when a quarterback has it. They rally around clarity. They play faster when leadership is decisive. Dragging out uncertainty helps no one. Haslam understands that the easiest decision is often the wrong one. The hardest decisions, the uncomfortable ones, are the ones that change franchises. And this is one of those moments. Shedeur Sanders represents something Cleveland hasn't had in a long time. Belief, not blind hope. Real belief built on composure, preparation, and performance. Letting that belief fade because of hesitation would be unforgivable. That's why the ending of this story isn't about firing a coach. It's about choosing a path. Jimmy Haslam is choosing the quarterback. He's choosing structure over comfort. He's choosing the future over fear. Whatever move comes next, one thing is already clear. Cleveland will not waste Shedeur Sanders.